G'day. Linda's laid up right now, so I'm making some bread. The first step is going to be grinding the grain. Instead of buying store-bought flour, we make our own flour here. I'm going to jump around a bit because there's no sense watching everything. So, the recipe is a whole wheat bread, 100% whole wheat, and it calls for 3.5 cups of whole wheat. So, we're going to give them real whole wheat. These are grain berries, and I'm going to grind it up in the KitchenAid. I guess I should plug it in first. We'll be back to show you what that looks like after it's finished. Okay, that's what it looks like after it's ground. Got everything in there. Nothing's been taken away. It's real whole wheat. Okay, 3.5 cups of wheat berries appear to make more than 3.5 cups of flour, so I'm going to measure it using measuring cup, of course. I'm going to put the recipe, the ingredient list, at the bottom. But this calls for 3.5 cups of whole wheat flour. There's 2. Three and a half cup measuring cup. Linda gets really mad at me because I'm picky. If the directions say 3.5 cups, that's what I give. Alright, let's see how this turned out. Well, that's not quite. And that, I don't know if you can see it, is 3.5 cups. So I'll just dispose of this in the flour jar, and I'll be right back. Okay, now here's why I think it's so easy to make bread. I stick it in a bread machine. Linda hates bread machines, but she's not here. So, first off, 1.5 cups of water. We use bottled water up here because our tap water is hard enough it'll coat your arteries instantly. 2 tablespoons of powdered milk. Now it calls for shortening, but we use oil instead. 2 tablespoons of oil. Two. 2 tablespoons of honey. That's one. Honey runs slow as molasses in winter. Well, wait a minute, it is winter. Alright, 2 tablespoons of honey. And speaking of molasses, we got to use molasses. Two tablespoons of molasses. One. Oh. Okay, 2 and a bit. Salt, 1.5 tablespoons. I already measured out the salt because it was dry stuff. I didn't have to worry about it. Into the sink with that one to wash. Okay. Whole wheat flour, 3.5 cups. And that's what we got right here, 3.5 cups. And I won't tell you about the times I made bread and had too much flour. It doesn't really work right, you know. And now 1.5 tablespoons, no, pardon me, that's teaspoons, 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. I'm using bread machine yeast. Well, I am doing it in a bread machine. That's 1/4 and that's 1/2 teaspoon. Half, 1, 1.5 of yeast. That's it. Now we stick it in the bread machine, set the bread machine. Because this is whole wheat, we set it for whole grain bread. Come on, get in there. plug it back in. And we go for bread type. Whole grain. And start. We'll come back in 4 hours and 10 minutes and show you what's happened. Okay, the bread is done. Now you might notice this is a different bread machine. The other bread machine, I started it up and it died. So I transferred everything into this one. And there's the loaf of bread. Now I just have to pull it out and tap it onto a rack to cool. So I'll put you back on the tripod and we shall take a look. Squeaky, you cannot get into that. Smells good. More light. Came out nice and clean. Looks good to me. Gotta show you this. That cat wants into that new bag of food. Squeaky. Hey, Squeak. You cut that out. You have food in your bowl. You leave the new bag alone. Silly cat. You have a choice. Whose bowl do you want? Okay. That is a nice looking bowl. Okay, we'll bring you back after it cools a bit so we can cut it. Okay, everything's been cleaned up. The bread has cooled, and it's time to go off my diet. Linda told me to put a towel over it. Apparently that's better for it or something. I don't know why, but now I get to taste test. Smells good. How's that look to you? Oh, can't wait to try this. Okay, the butter's a little cold. There is nothing like fresh home-baked bread. And I can have it about once a month. That is good. Tastes different from store-bought flour. So that's it. From grinding the berries, the wheat berries, to eating the bread. That's nice. Okay. Now Linda can make toast with the rest. And that's all, folks.